Welcome to all parents and students watching our important Year 12 information for 2020 at Kuirup Secondary College. What will be covered in this video is key dates, study scores, GAT, VCAR exams, VTAC application process. Trial exams are going to happen for Unit 3 4 subjects between Term 3 Week 10 and Term 4 Week 2. All Year 12 subjects will be holding practice exams. The trial exams will be held in normal class times except for English, biology, chemistry, physics and psychology, and a timetable will be made available to students shortly so they know when all their trial exams will be held. End of year. I've got a number of dates here, but due to the COVID situation, a lot of these potentially will change once more information comes to light, but this is the plan so far. VCAL final day of classes will be Thursday the 15th of October. The Year 12 final assembly for both VCE and VCAL students will be Thursday the 29th of October, and we hope all VCAL students will be back for that. The VCE's final day of classes will be Thursday the 29th of October. Celebration day at this stage for VCE and VCAL students will be Friday the 30th of October. There will be revision classes from Monday the 2nd to Monday the 9th of November. These are optional classes. Valedictory at this stage is Friday the 11th of December. However, at this stage, I foresee that will be postponed until 2021. But as soon as we have information about any of these dates, we'll certainly get them out to you, but it is all dependent on the COVID situation. We thank you for your understanding in this. Exams. Now, all students will be provided with a personalised VCAR exam schedule. You may have heard already that the GAT has been postponed yet again, so it's now been moved from September to Wednesday the 7th of October, which is the first week of Term 4. Language and performance exams, they start in early October, and written exams begin with English on Tuesday the 10th of November. Just a quick word about the GAT. A GAT video will be made available to students later in the term to watch as we can't run the normal sessions at school. English classes will also discuss in more detail the writing section. It's extremely important that all students watch this video when it becomes available. So why is the GAT important? Well, there's three main reasons. It's used to calculate the derived exam score, which is a student's insurance policy. Talk more about that later. It's also to identify low exam scores in comparison to scores on the GAT, which can make result in marks increasing. It's also used for moderation of SACs and SATs. And this year, it's believed that it's going to be even more important due to the COVID-19 situation. So we really do need students to be taking it very seriously, staying in there for the duration of the 15 minutes reading time and 3-hour writing time. Next, we're going to talk about study scores, and to help you with that, we're going to watch a short video from VCAR.
What's a study score? VCAA study scores are the first step in the calculation of your ATAR. A study score summarises a student's achievements in Units 3 and 4 by comparing them against everyone else enrolled in the same study that year. A student's study score is a rank that is presented as a number from 0 to 50. This mark is not based on how a student performed in any single school-based assessment or external exam, but indicates their relative achievement across all graded assessments against everyone else enrolled in the study. How do you get a study score? To have a study score reported, students typically must have satisfactorily completed Units 3 and 4 in sequence in the same year. And as part of that sequence, every VCE study has 3 graded assessments, apart from VCE VET studies, which have 2. A graded assessment may be a school-assessed coursework, SAC, or a school-assessed task, SAT, or an external assessment, typically an examination. There's no secret formula to study scores. It's simply a student's final score placed in the range of scores available for that study. The calculation uses basic mathematics. A score of 50 means that the student was ranked in the top 0.3% of students in that study. A study score of 40 plus means the student was ranked in the top 9% of all students enrolled in that study. A study score of 30 is the average. A little over 2/3 of all reported study scores lie between 23 and 37. Completing your VCE is an important step, and while the better your study scores, the better your ATAR, your study scores do not define your life. They are just a point in time. Success in life can take many forms. To learn more about calculating your study score, visit the VCAA website.
Hopefully that gave you a little bit better understanding of study scores, which obviously then go towards creating the ATAR. Now with VCAR exams, students who applied for special provision have already received the documentation which explains what they are eligible for. I mentioned derived exam scores earlier. So these are used for the onset of serious illness, injury, personal trauma, serious event just prior to or during exams. It is application based. So if unfortunately something does happen, it's very important that students or parents contact Mrs. Miller or Miss Parent ASAP during exams if something happens, so that we can talk you through the application. Exam expectations. All students are expected to undertake all exams to the best of their ability. They are to be in full college uniform for the duration of every exam. They should arrive at least 30 minutes prior to all exams. It's particularly important for exams like further maths and maths methods and specialist maths, as they need to have their bound references and calculators checked. The same as English, where their dictionaries need to be checked prior to entering the facility. Students should also be aware of and have all the required and permitted equipment with them. Why are exams important? Well, the exams contribute significantly to the overall subject score. For example, an English subject exam contributes 50% of the overall score. Math subjects have 2 exams and they contribute to 66%. It's very important that students are aware of what their exams contribute. Exams also moderate the Unit 3-4 marks by comparing the individual results to exam results across the state. The takeaway from all this is students should aim to equal or exceed their coursework mark in an exam. Obviously, exam causes stress. The factors primarily responsible for making exams so stressful include time it takes to prepare good study notes, time it takes to learn materials off by heart, the lack of time to work through past exams, and finding time to prepare for exams while simultaneously juggling homework, SATs, work, sporting commitments, family commitments. And there's one key to being able to decrease your stress, and that is organisation. And we've spoken to the students about this all during the year and given them strategies as we've gone along. Sometimes things do get too much for students, and therefore it's very important to seek the appropriate help. We have student wellbeing at the college that students can access, as well as obviously your own resources outside of the school. But we're always here to help. So moving on from exam stress, how do we get exam success? The factors that have the greatest impact: quality of notes, the learning techniques, the amount of type of revision, and the exposure to quality resources. Again, students have done some sessions during the year which started on camp with Elevate Educate, as well as sessions with their teachers along the way. So it's really important to make sure that these things are all in action. So how do we achieve this? Number 1, you need to get started ASAP. Number 2, students need to prepare comprehensive sets of notes at least 7 weeks before exams, which is not that far away now. Create an exam study timetable. Hopefully students have had a study timetable during the year, and now they can just tweak that for the exam period. They need to use effective and time-saving learning techniques, and teachers would have given them ideas during the year as well as from Elevate Educate. It's now time to move the information into the long-term memory and keep the learned knowledge alive. Second last one, refine your exam skills. So what have you learned along the way? Do you need to practice your reading time, making sure you make the most of that? Do you need to work on multiple choice questions, short answer, essays? This is where we need to really refine everything in preparation. And number 7, get different perspectives. You've listened to your teachers all year, and I'm sure they've had wonderful ideas, but it's always great to hear a different voice. So if you can get along to lectures, obviously virtual ones this year, it's definitely something that you should look into. We're always putting up examples of ones of no cost, low cost, so make sure you get on and have a look at those with your son or daughter and see if they're achievable to do. And finally for this one, students need to take advantage of every opportunity and every spare minute. It's really going to go fast these remaining weeks for students this year. Next I'm going to talk about beyond 2020. Some students will be heading off to apprenticeships, some full-time work, some TAFE courses and some tertiary education. All these pathways are all fantastic and should be catered for your son or daughter's needs. However, we're going to look at, for those students who do want to apply to tertiary education and for some TAFE courses, the VTAC process. So VTAC is another organisation who works with VCAR to make sure these tertiary courses are made available. The first thing that students should be doing, and along with parents, is looking at the open days. Now, normally we would be encouraging everyone to get out to these open days, but again, because of the COVID situation, they are virtual this year. Students have been getting access to those via the Year 12 Facebook page and Compass, so it's important that they are going to these virtual open days. Course search is where students look up courses, and we'll have a quick look at that. The next step is to register, do a course application, a CEAS application and a scholarship application. So firstly, course search. When they get into the course search, which is on the VTAC website, they find courses and there's a lot of information, and it looks in an abbreviated form like this. There's a couple of things obviously I would like to highlight. We have the course title, could be Bachelor of Nursing. The sector, that's going to tell you if it's one the students can apply for or not. You're looking for the higher education or the TAFE courses, not the grad ones. And it'll then go through how long it's going to take, the institution, which campus it's at. One of the first important things that you need to look at is the course code. Now, there's 2 that students can apply for. That's the CSP place, which is the Commonwealth Supported Place, which means that students don't need to pay this back until they earn a certain amount of money, which now is over $50,000. So if the course code ends in a 2, that's a fee place, which means the course does have to be paid up front. There are some with a 3, but that's for international students. They'll then have lots of different information about the course, major studies, career pathways, etc. But what I want to talk about is what do they have to do to get in? And that's the essential requirements and admission criteria. Students need to make sure this is read very carefully. You don't want to miss out on a place because you didn't have a prerequisite or you didn't go and submit a folio, complete an interview, etc. So it's very, very important that that is looked at. The next one is how competitive is it to get in? And that's where students need to look at the ATAR profile. So the ATAR profile looks something like this. Here's an example. The most important thing students should look at is over on the right-hand side, the lowest selection rank. Okay, so that is their ATAR plus any adjustments that they might get. And we'll talk about those adjustments shortly. So for this particular course, if they wanted to go to Clayton, if they got 79.55 or Peninsula 74.65, then they should be offered a place. Students, and you do need to keep in mind that the ATAR profiles that are posted currently are for the students who are currently studying at tertiary. So the 2019 students, this is what they needed to get in. Normally these scores are similar every year, but they can go up and down depending on, mainly on demand. You'll also notice when you are looking at courses, the further you go from Melbourne, generally the lower the ATAR score or the lower the selection rank. Students have been asked to register for VTAC already, and they have been given a video to watch which explains how to do that step by step. So students should have registered by now. The next thing we asked them to do was to do the course application step. Again, they've been given a video with step-by-step instructions on how to do this. For your information, course applications cost $41 if submitted on time. The price significantly goes up after the due date. At this stage, students don't have to pay. They can just put in the course application till they decide if they do want to apply or not. We have asked all students to do steps 1 and 2 so that they are prepared depending on which way they want to go. Next really important part, once students are registered and they've done their course application or at least put in one course, is a CEES application. Everyone should apply for a CEES application, and I'll explain why. So CEES, which is Special Entry Access Scheme, is used by most institutions. Students only need to fill out a single application and it will cover them for all their preferences. And what it does is it allows selection officers at institutions to grant special consideration for course entry to applicants. So what can it do? It increases the selection rank of eligible applicants to compensate for disadvantage. Consideration is applied in accordance with each institution's policy, so it can be different between courses. What it doesn't do, though, is it doesn't exempt applicants from the essential requirements and admissions criteria. So like I mentioned before, you still need the prerequisites, complete an interview if it's relevant, do a particular test, form, folio. None of that changes. The other thing that's important is it doesn't guarantee a student will get in, but it may get a student entry into a course with a lower ATAR than's otherwise been stated. So just to give you an idea, here's an example here. You can see at the top here, student Mel, they got an ATAR of 95. They had nothing else to raise their ATAR, so their selection rank is 95. Jerry got an ATAR of 90, but they also had some subject adjustments. So that means in the prerequisites it might have said if you did biology and got a study score of 30, you would get 2 aggregate points. So what happens is we get these subject adjustments, and Jerry went up to 94. And then we've got Victoria, very similar to Mel's situation, an 85 ATAR, nothing changes that one, so her selection rank is 85. Emma, similar situation, but an ATAR of 80. AJ, on the other hand, got an ATAR of 75, also put in a CEES application and had some subject adjustments. And you can note how much of a difference that made to his selection rank. It went up to 86. So in the beginning, AJ was ranked 5th, but with his CEES and his subject adjustments, that lifts him up to 3 in the selection rank. So that makes a huge difference. So that's how CEES can help. There are 4 categories. The first one is personal information and location, and every student should apply for that one. It's just a matter of ticking a box and it is done. The next one is disadvantaged financial background. The third one is disability and medical condition. And the fourth one is difficult circumstances. Now again, students have received a video on C's application and explaining all these categories and everything that is required. Now for financial background, there is documentation needed from Centrelink. For disability and medical condition, students do need documentation, which is called a statement of support from a medical practitioner or a health practitioner. And difficult circumstances, again, requires students to fill out a few questions and write an impact statement. So both category 3 and 4 require impact statements from the students. Again, it's all in the video that students have been given on how to do a C's application. And again, we strongly recommend every student does this because it can be the difference between getting into a course or not. The next part is scholarships. Again, everyone should apply. Scholarships don't just apply to the students who get really high ATARs. There are lots and lots of different scholarships available. And if you don't apply, you don't know what you might be missing out on. It is a very similar process to C's. Students can use the same evidence that they've used for the C's application. They just need to enter some personal details, some personal history and some experiences. And the last thing they have to do is write a written statement to the question, how will your scholarship benefit your 2020 studies? There's also lots of other scholarships available outside the VTAC process, and students should be keeping their eye out for all that information. And as parents, please be pushing them to apply for as many as they can. One that I do know that comes up every year is the Bendigo Bank Scholarship. So if you live in an area where there is a Bendigo Bank, your son or daughter will be eligible to apply, having been at Kooyurup Secondary College. They vary in amounts, but definitely worth applying for the Bendigo Bank one. So I would suggest towards middle of term 4, start getting onto the Bendigo Bank website and checking it out. For any students who are thinking about doing education, there is an extra test that needs to be completed, and that's called the CASPA. To get into education, you need a minimum selection rank of 70, and you have to complete this online test for the majority of undergraduate teaching courses. There is the odd one that just wants a written statement, but most of them are going for the CASPA. It is taken online only at specific dates and times, so it's very important that students don't miss out on the CASPA. It is a short online assessment with timed questions. There's video-based scenarios and text-based scenarios, followed by 3 open-ended questions, and they have 5 minutes to respond. The CASPA is assessing non-academic attributes like communication, collaboration, ethics, empathy, problem solving, professionalism, equity and motivation. Again, if they don't complete the CASPA, it doesn't matter how well they went with their ATAR, they will not get given a position. Next one is key dates. So Course Search is already open, which students have been using. VTAC applications opened on the 3rd of August, and already a number of students have registered, which is fantastic, and a few students have already done their course application. That definitely needs to be done by the 30th of September. After that date, that price significantly jumps up. We then have what I was just speaking about, the C's and scholarships. They close on the 9th of October. Now that is at the end of the first week of term 4. Students now, or for this year, will get their ATAR and VCE results on the 30th of December. And 4th of January is when the change of preference closes. What that means is students can get in and out of their VTAC applications as many times as they like and change the order that they've got in there. They can also take most courses out and put most courses in. There are some exceptions to that. Then on the 14th of January, that will be the first round of offers for your son or daughter. After that, there are more rounds in February, the first one being the February the 1st. However, please note that the majority of offers are released in January. Okay, it decreases significantly each round after that. Finally, there's a lot of information to take in as a parent, and we're coming up to the stressful time of the year for your son or daughter. They might have questions, you might have questions, but we're always here to answer them, and that is the senior team, being myself, Tanya Miller, the Senior Learning Community Leader. We have our VCE Coordinator, Shona Perrin. We have the two Senior Coordinators, which is Tanya Hamilton and Jared Pulsar. We've also got in careers, Liz Miller as well. So there's plenty of people here that can answer all your questions. Obviously at the moment, email is the best way to contact us. Students have Teams as a great way to make contact with any of us. And obviously you can always ring the school and leave a message and we can give you a call back. So again, thank you very much for listening, and I hope this video has helped you with a number of questions for the remaining part of the year. Thank you.